Yo, what's going on, y'all? It's Cone back here again today with another episode of After the Buzzer, the show where I recap the NBA games from the night. We had two game ones on Tuesday, both one seeds getting into some second round action, with the Boston Celtics taking on the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Oklahoma City Thunder taking on the Dallas Mavericks. That's the game I want to spend a majority of this video on. We will talk about Cleveland versus Boston a little bit later. Let's start off with Thunder versus Mavs. As a diehard Thunder fan, if you're new to the channel, welcome. I'm a diehard Thunder fan. This is a series that I've been very excited for. The idea of Shai facing off against Luka, two top 3 MVP candidates. You've got a great defender in Lu Dort. How will he go up against Luka? You've also got Kyrie Irving in the mix, rising stars in Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren, as well as great bigs on the other side for the Mavericks with like Derek Lively, Daniel Gafford, great role players everywhere. This felt like it could be an amazing series. Outside of Denver versus Minnesota, I think this is the series that most people were excited for going into the second round. And I talked about all this in my series prediction video that I put up a couple of days ago, where ultimately I predicted the Thunder to win in 6 games. I felt like it could go either way. I said in that video, if you pick Dallas, I'm not going to blame you because we've seen what Luka has done in the past. Kyrie Irving has had a million great playoff moments, and that's a great team, but I was going to go ahead and ride with my Thunder, which I felt like was a perfectly reasonable take, yet so many of those comments said that I was insane for even thinking the Thunder had a chance, that I was extremely biased for picking them to win this series, and I'm not saying they're 100% going to after game 1, because we saw like the Clippers beat the Mavericks in game 1, and obviously that didn't go the Clippers' way, but I will say that in game 1, the Thunder made a statement that if you're one of those doubters that think that the Thunder have no chance and you're still not buying into the hype of this team, you're way behind. Because while the game was close for the first half, by about halfway through the third quarter, the Thunder blew this one open. The Thunder went into halftime with, I believe, an 8-point lead. Kyrie hit a big 3 partway through the third to cut the deficit to 1. Mark Daniel calls timeout, and from that moment on, it was all Oklahoma City. Just bucket after stop after stop. Jalen Williams went off in the fourth quarter. It's what he always does, was perfect shooting. I think he had 10 points. He played some amazing defense. The Thunder had these crazy hustle plays. We're building up a lot of momentum. Shai was getting buckets. Chet was. Everybody was contributing. Before you know it, the Thunder are suddenly up 25 points, end up winning this one by 22. The bench warmers were in this game with like 5 minutes to go. It was not even close down the stretch. Thunder grab, again, a 22-point win, 117-95, making a statement in game 1, taking a 1-0 series lead in Oklahoma City. It was an extremely impressive effort, and it's what the Thunder have done all season. I don't know when people are going to realize this is just a really good basketball team on both ends. Defensively, the Thunder have yet to allow a playoff opponent to score 100 points or more. This 95 points by the Mavericks was the highest total that either them or the Pelicans have had so far against the Thunder in the playoffs. A lot of people are talking about how the Pelicans were frauds, how it wasn't impressive what the Thunder did in the first run against them because they were at 8 seed, they were missing Zion, and yeah, sure, he's huge to their team, but even still, to be this young team that everybody says has too much inexperience and not lose a single game, not lose a step, and lock them up like that is impressive. And you do the same thing here against Dallas, who is an extremely potent offense. As a whole, they held the Mavericks to just 39.3% shooting, just 34.3% from deep. They kept them off the boards. Like, everybody's talking about, oh, the Thunder are going to get destroyed because their lack of size in this series. They out-rebounded the Mavericks 52-39. It was a 13 rebound advantage in favor of Oklahoma City on the offensive glass, 16 offensive boards to 11 for the Mavericks. The Thunder stepped up in every conceivable way. In terms of individual defensive matchups, Kyrie got some of his. He shot 50% from the field, but had just 20 points, had 4 turnovers. Really did a good job of limiting him specifically in the first half. In the second half, he went off a little bit more. It's kind of what we've seen from Kyrie throughout the playoffs so far. For Luka, had maybe the worst playoff game he's ever had. I didn't fact check this, but it certainly felt like it. 6 of 19 shooting for just 31.6% from the field, 1 of 8 from 3, 19 points, 6 rebounds, 9 assists, 2 steals, 5 turnovers. Was very not good. And a lot of the credit does go to the Thunder defense. I felt like they did a great job of forcing Luka into uncomfortable positions, making him really work for every bucket. Lu Dort is just an incredible defender. Chet being down low, making him second guess some stuff, especially with some of the reads he was trying to make to his big men. Phenomenal job from the Thunder defense. Although on the other side, I will say too, Luka is clearly not right. And I mentioned this again in my series preview. One of the reasons why I picked the Thunder to win the series is Luka, that knee injury is really hampering him. He is not moving like himself. He's not being aggressive attacking downhill. The 3-point shot feels a little bit off. There was one point in this game where he kind of fell to the floor grabbing at that knee. It was pretty early on. Eventually, of course, played the rest of the game pretty much, but never really seemed right this one. He's a lot slower out there, especially on the defensive end, where he had some pretty good defensive games against the Clippers. That was not the case tonight. Kind of reverted a lot to the usual Luka defense, where he's not really stopping anybody, just not himself at all. I even saw Mavericks fans on my timeline asking for him to be taken out of the game straight up. That's how poorly Luke was playing tonight. And there's a good chance that he bounces back. I don't know if he's going to have a game this bad the rest of the series, but if Luka doesn't become his usual self, the Mavericks have no chance of winning this. They need Luka to be phenomenal if they want to take down this Thunder team, or at least pretty good, and then maybe some heroics from Kyrie can help you steal some games. But I'm just not sure if Luka's knee is going to be ready to go. I mean, they have to play a game in a couple of days here. They don't have a lot of big breaks. They just got the biggest break they're going to get this entire rest of the playoffs if they go out in the series between the end of the Clippers series and now. If his knee isn't ready between those games and the games are only going to get more physical, the series is going to be even tougher against this Thunder team. Is that knee ever going to be 100% right? It's certainly something to keep an eye on for the rest of this series. OKC did a really good job with the shooters. They went to a zone at one point. We're just letting a lot of guys try and beat them from the perimeter. Didn't really work for the Mavericks. They did a great job against the bigs. Chet came up huge against Daniel Gafford, just 5 of 12 shooting from him, just 1 of 3 from Derek Lively. Great job. Again, people talked about how he was going to get just completely destroyed by the physicality in this series. Chet held up extremely well. Thunder did a great job for them offensively too. They were like the usual well-oiled machine that they are. Shai led the way as usual, 29 points, 9 rebounds, 9 assists. Extremely in control of this game, continuously attacking. Got a lot of free throws in the first half, which I know everybody's going to comment on in this video. He was getting hit a lot. Sure, there were some kind of ticky-tack foul calls if you want to talk about that in the first half, but in the second half, I felt like it was officiated way more leniently. They were letting guys play a lot more, be a lot more physical, and Shai was still really good. He just stepped up in every conceivable way, played some great defense, hit very timely buckets. The playmaking was amazing. Shai just continues to be one of the best players in the world. Another guy who stepped up big is Chet Holmgren, who might have been the best player in this entire game. 19 points, 7 boards, and assists, 2 steals, 3 blocks, 50% shooting from the field, hit a couple of threes. Chet is just a game breaker on the defensive end, just blowing up so many actions for the Dallas Mavericks, not really letting them ever get breathing room. He grabbed 4 offensive rebounds, getting the Thunder some extra possessions, fighting down low, being physical. Even if it's not going to show up on the stat sheet, the amount of shots that he altered in this game was absurd. The fact that Chet didn't get a single all-defensive or specifically defensive player of the year vote, the voting dropped earlier today as I'm recording this, is crazy, especially because you had like Domantas Sabonis get a vote and Chet Holmgren, the anchor for a top 5 defense in the Thunder, who was one of the league leaders in blocks. He was up there in that category. He didn't get any defensive player of the year votes and seemingly is not going to make an all-defensive team or even be considered, is completely absurd. People don't realize how good he is. And I think as the Thunder continue to go on, they're going to realize there are just too many people who still think, oh, Chet's skinny, so bad at defense. He's going to get bothered. Chet is basically never bothered by anybody on that end. And then Jalen Williams comes in the fourth quarter, does what he always does in the fourth, and just annihilated the Dallas Mavericks. It felt like a moment, I'm sure for Mavericks fans, where it's like, okay, Shai's off the court. Maybe this is a moment where we can go on a run. But like I said in my series preview video, that's never really the case because J-Dub is never going to lose a step in those moments. Had 10 points on perfect shooting, 2 of 2 from 3, 4-4 from the field. Just completely put this one away. The reason the Thunder built up that big lead is J-Dub, who continues to emerge as a star on the national stage, is already an all-star level player, and he's way better than a lot of people realize. Also defensively, did a great job against Kyrie Irving in this game against a bunch of different players because the Thunder switch everything. There were a lot of cross matchups. Again, they played a little bit of zone. He was perfect in that scheme. This whole Thunder team really stepped up. Lou Dort, again, great defense on Luka. Hustle plays, hit a couple of threes. You had J. Will coming off the bench as the backup big, 5 of 7 from the floor, 11 points, 9 rebounds. Incredible stuff from him. Amazing backup big for us so far in the playoffs. Isaiah Joe hit a couple of threes. Casey Wallace hit a couple of threes, including a no-dip one. Aaron Wiggins, maybe the single most underrated player in the entire sport. 16 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal, and a block. 5 of 7 shooting, 3 of 4 from deep. He always hits the timely shots, it feels like. I don't think I've ever seen Aaron Wiggins miss a momentum shot. He feels like he never misses from 3. He's one of the smartest cutters in the league, a great defender. There's nothing that Aaron Wiggins does poorly. He can even create off the dribble for himself. He can get in there and try and grab offensive rebounds as well, fight on the defensive glass. special player. I think he could start so many places in the league. The fact that the Thunder have him to come off the bench is a massive luxury. And that was also one of the big differences in this game. The Thunder are just way deeper than the Dallas Mavericks. Josh Giddey was not good in this game. I'm not sure how much he's actually going to play in this series, but the Thunder are able to go to Jay Will, Isaiah Joe, Cason Wallace, Aaron Wiggins, all these different guys off the bench. While for the Mavericks, there was really not many people producing outside of their starting five. Like, they only got 2 points from Lively, 11 from Josh Green, 5 from Dante Exum, 2 from Tim Hardaway Jr., so that's 20 bench points for them. And for the Thunder, it was, if I can do some quick math here, 17, 24, that is 42 for the Thunder. Outscoring them by a ton when it comes to bench points. That was a big difference. The Thunder have a lot more depth, a lot more versatility. That's going to be a problem for the Mavericks, especially, again, if Luka's not playing like himself. I don't think Dallas really stands a chance in this series. People are sooner than later going to realize just because the Thunder are young doesn't mean they're going to look like it. This is a team that has played way more mature than their age shows this entire season. It should have shown to people when they grabbed the 1 seed, when they were top 5 on both sides of the ball, and had multiple statement wins with an MVP candidate at the helm. But I don't know when people are going to realize that this Thunder team is really good. Again, I'm not proclaiming that the series is over because of one win, but I think this was a great sign for the Thunder. They have to continue to play like this, knock down these shots, keep Luka and Kyrie a bit contained. I think they have the personnel to do so. I'm really encouraged as a Thunder fan, and I hope, again, if you're a doubter of this Thunder team, you continue to watch them because they're going to keep proving people wrong. I've been so blown away by their poise in these moments in the playoffs. They're one of 2 teams so far that is undefeated. They joined the Minnesota Timberwolves, who have played one more game. They're 6-0 at the moment. The Thunder are 5-0. But again, it's a young team that at so many moments could have crumbled. They could have fallen apart. They could have succumbed to the pressure. Like when Kyrie helped bring that game back to a 1-point deficit in the third quarter, that was a moment where the Thunder could have fallen apart, but instead stayed locked in. The Thunder crowd, which has been the best in the entire sport in the playoffs so far, got roaring, and by the end, it's a blowout like the Thunder have done to so many teams throughout the season, yet people still don't realize how good they are yet. One final note I want to make real quick is I'm not really sure why Jason Kidd got the extension that he did a couple of days ago. Does not make sense. I've never been super impressed with him as a coach, and in this game, thoroughly got outcoached by Mark Daigneault, which is a big advantage for the Thunder too. I don't know why he went to his zone at one point in this game against the best 3-point shooting team in the league. Didn't make sense to me. I don't know why Tim Hardaway Jr. played so many minutes, why he went away from the bigs at moments. Just confusing stuff all over the place, and I think that's going to be another storyline we have to take a look at throughout the series. And then we had Boston versus Cleveland, which honestly, I don't have a lot to say. The Celtics led for basically this entire game. They went up by as much as 26, ended up winning by 25 points, 120-95, holding them under 100. It was just another dominant effort from the Celtics, who are easily the best team in the Eastern Conference. I don't even know if they're going to lose 2 more games en route to the NBA Finals. Just a lot better than basically everybody else. Jayson Tatum did not play good in this game. Really hasn't played great at all throughout the playoffs so far, outside of a couple of moments. Had just 18, and yet they dominated. Jaylen Brown had 32, 6 rebounds, shot 67% from the floor. Derek White, 56% shooting, hit 7 threes, 25 points, 14 from Jrue Holiday, 16 from Peyton Pritchard off the bench. Like, they don't even have Kristaps Porzingis at this point, who's one of their key players on both ends. I still don't think it's going to matter. Cleveland just does not have the offensive creators to keep up with this team, especially because Darius Garland continues to play really poorly throughout the playoffs. Donovan Mitchell did what he could, 33 points. It just was not enough. Even Mobley had like 17, 13, 8 of 12 shooting. They just don't have enough offense. They don't have enough defense, and the depth is super thin for this team. They've had some injuries like Jared Allen currently having that rib injury. That's a big blow to them trying to guard this Celtics team, especially with their downhill attack. They've been missing Dean Wade for a while as well. Like, they're playing Marcus Morris Sr. and Tristan Thompson in the year 2024. If that doesn't scream that the depth is really cooked, I don't know what does. So maybe Cleveland takes a game in this series. I picked Boston to go ahead and win in 5, but every time I watch the Celtics play anybody in the East so far in the playoffs, it becomes continuously more clear to me that this team will probably lose like 2 more games at most en route to the NBA Finals. I wouldn't be surprised if they just swept their way there the rest of the way. But yeah, with all that being said, those are my thoughts on these games. Let me know down below in the comments what your takeaways were. What are your thoughts on this Thunder Mavericks series through game 1? Who do you have winning? How many games do you think Luka's going to bounce back? Or do you just believe that the knee injury might be a little bit too much for him to overcome at this moment? And for Boston, do you think they're just going to sleepwalk to the finals like I do? Would love to hear your thoughts on that. Yeah, but for the moment though, leave a like and subscribe if you enjoy. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on future videos. I'll see y'all later. Real one, say it back.